Good evening, folks. Welcome to another edition of Curveball Convos with your boys at Carolina Curveball. Tonight, we have a fuller show than we did last Thursday when it was just me and Brax. Colby, it is good for you to be back. Reed Tobin is busy with work. Unfortunately, he might be able to join later. Unsure yet, though. But Colby, how's it going, sir? And is your bracket busted?
Oh yeah, I gave up on the bracket after Thursday, but yeah, good to be back. Haven't been on the show the last two episodes, so good to be back.
We are so glad to have you back, Sir Braxton. How's it going, sir? Me and you previewed a loaded weekend. It turned out to be an electric weekend, Braxton, with 15 rubber matches. And there are some things that we said kind of previewed. And I remember one of the closing things I asked you was, hey, Braxton, would it be crazy if Clemson goes to Notre Dame and comes out with the series loss and cannot believe they come out of there swept? And Braxton, one of the things that we saw on our Instagram story when we asked people for their takeaways, someone I saw put is Clemson overrated.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely probably the shock of the weekend. But yeah, great to be here, to be back. I think this is episode 40 of Curveball Combos, if I'm not mistaken. So good landmark for us. We'll get to 50 here soon as well. But yeah, I mean, what a weekend. Clemson getting swept was not on my bingo card, that is for sure. I think when you asked me, I said that would be an absolute shock if they lost the series. But hats off to Notre Dame. I mean, what a win for them. But yeah, I mean, we can dive into all the scores here, which we will. But definitely, probably the highlight of the weekend was them getting swept. I mean, obviously they're a good program. They'll bounce back, we think. So, but it just goes to show there's no easy series in the ACC. There's no easy series in baseball, really. You got to show up every day to the park and roll the balls out and play better than the other team across the way. So.
Oh yeah. Before we get into the show, I want to first touch on Paul Mainieri, but before that, Braxton, like you said, thank you to everyone for the support. This is our 40th episode, so grab you a nice beverage. This is a cup of coffee for me. If you have a nice beverage, water. Colby, you got a nice beverage, sir?
Pepsi Zero.
Pepsi Zero for everyone. Hope you're enjoying a beverage or a snack, listening to us on the way to work, watching on YouTube. However you are watching us, we want to say thank you so much for all the follows, all the likes, all the support. It means so much to us. We would not be here without you guys. But let's go ahead and start talking about baseball. That's what you guys came for. Braxton, it's unfortunate that Reed Tobin is not on this show tonight because he predicted in his bold prediction that Paul Mainieri would not make it to the end of the season. And we got the shocking news on, I mean, honestly, you can call it shocking or whatever you want to call it, on Saturday morning from John Whittle from Big Spur 247 Sports. Shout out him. I met him when South Carolina came to play ECU in women's basketball in 2022. Super nice guy, really good dude, does a really good job down there in Columbia. He is the first one to break the news. Braxton, don't know if this was too much of a shocker, maybe the timing of it, but Monty Lee is now taking over for the rest of the season. Braxton, your initial thoughts, then Colby, we will go to yours.
Yeah, I think you're right, Casey. I think it was pretty inevitable after the early signs of the season. Yes, it was still a little bit of a shock. I think just that it actually happened mid-season. I think I was looking back at our older episode where Reed talked about this, and I think it was on February 12th. I was trying to find a clip to post because just to kind of be a cool thing for him, but I think he kind of shied away from saying it would happen mid-season. I think he just kind of wanted it to be, South Carolina has another bad season under Mainieri, and he's not there to start the year next year. Which, I mean, fair play. That's still kind of what's happening. But it's kind of a common theme we're starting to see now with these coaches getting banged mid-season, where I think they just want to start their search earlier and get ahead of the game from that standpoint. But yeah, I think it was inevitable for the South Carolina program. I think once I started thinking about it, I like them with Monty Lee. I think they'll have a lot more energy, and that showed in their 2 ball games after the firing. I mean, they should have won the series, to be honest with you. I know me and Kaysen talked about it on Thursday's show. We could see them maybe stealing a game depending on what happens. We didn't anticipate him getting parting ways, but I think that you could tell there was a different energy in that dugout, and they played like it right away. And I think that's what you're going to see under Monty Lee. There's going to be names thrown around for the next couple months about who's in line for the job, but obviously that's a huge job to open up in the Carolinas. So we'll be talking about it as the information develops. that front. Uh, but yeah, congrats to Reed on hitting a bold prediction already. You're in March.
And Colby, before the season, you were talking about South Carolina has one of the top transfer portal classes, has all this talent, as Rev Blake comments on X. USC must believe they have a squad to compete, or was it just toxic? And I think me and Braxton alluded to it in the previous weeks of there must have been something terrible culture had to be. And they have talent on this roster. I mean, Tyler Bach made a phenomenal catch at center field, robbing a home run. He had a phenomenal week at the plate. And Colby, they have so much talent on that roster, and just kind of your thoughts and comments on the firing.
Yeah, a bit shocked at the timing, but understand. There were some rumblings after last year about some culture issues in his first year there, and I guess they might have continued into this year. But first big job for their South Carolina's new AD. I think his last name's Donati. I might be,
I don't know off the top of your head, but yes.
but it's his first big. I think he took over early 2025 for Ray Tanner as the athletic director at South Carolina. So it's his first big move, firing a coach a month into the season, and he's going to have plenty of time to sort out candidates, kind of get feelers out there. And I think South Carolina, I think we will all agree it's a great job. So it's maybe lost a little bit of the star power the last couple years with some down years of Mainieri and before that. But I think it's a great job. I think they're going to end up hiring a great coach and hopefully turn that program back around.
Colby, are there any names right now that have been thrown out, or names that you think that we should throw out for that job?
I mean, if I'm South Carolina, I'm going first candidate all in on Kevin Schnall. So that's what I'd do.
Yeah, I 100% agree, and I've been listening to I listen to sports radio every day, and another big job we don't know what's going to happen is the UNC basketball job, and people talk about who could they get for the job, and it's like, oh, they need to make calls, but to keep it here on the level we are, I mean, Colby, they have to at least call, they have to at least reach out, if not. And I don't think Kevin Strong should leave. That's my personal opinion. I don't think he should leave. I mean, he went to a national championship with them in his first year. I mean, and also Colby, I mean, that fan base, that ballpark, just everything about that culture, Colby. If you're Kevin Schnall, would you pick up the phone?
I don't know. That's tough. I mean, he's got something great rolling right now in Conway. But I think if you're South Carolina, you at least got to try. I mean, he's right there in your state. Even if he says no right away, at least he tried. I think that will be their top candidate, and they will call and try. But it's to be determined whether Schnall takes it. I mean, I think he's got a great situation in Conway, so it'll be interesting to see.
Oh, yeah. Braxton, your thoughts to wrap this up and also address on Rev Blake's comments as they are playing in a big midweek game versus your Heels.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right that they'll make the call. I mean, it kind of reminds me of from the football season when Penn State got rid of Franklin, and it was kind of almost like, well, you've got to call Signetti. Like, you got to just make that phone call, because there's definitely a dollar amount out there that could be offered that can sway anyone. I don't care who you are. But with that being said, I just think that, like you said, Kaysen, Schnall's got a good thing going in Conway. I can't see him leaving. He's a coastal guy through and through. Played there, has been wanting this job for his whole coaching career, and it was passed to him by Gilmore. So I think there's a lot of other good candidates out there for South Carolina. I think they will call some big names. I don't think they're going to try any sort of experiment like they did with this one. Which, I mean, not that Mainieri's not a big name. I mean, it was a big name hire, but it just depends on what they want to do and where they want to go from here. But obviously, it's a big job. It's a big program. So it's going to be a big headline when it happens. And as far as them playing the Heels tomorrow, I expect a good ball game. I think they're going to come energized into that Charlotte ballpark. It should be a great crowd. I know Reed typically goes to that game. I don't think he will be tomorrow, but it's always a good crowd at Truist Park. Definitely one to keep an eye on tomorrow. So yeah, I think it'll be a good ball game. Just speaking on that.
And to get into the weekend recap, we will also touch on South Carolina later on, as they did take a game versus Arkansas. So we will get into that later. But first, I want to start off with the series that began on Thursday, ended on Saturday. Braxton, thank you for pulling up the scoreboard. If you are watching, here is our Sunday scoreboard. The one not on there is the one I'm going to discuss right now. Winthrop over Sacramento State. Winthrop makes the trip to California, plays Pacific on Tuesday. It was right, Braxton, like Tuesday, right?
Yeah, it was right away. I think they flew out Monday and played Tuesday.
They beat Pacific, lost game one to Sacramento State 13-1 in a kind of a shocker. Then won game two 14-12, won game three 7-5. Nice win for McGuire and Co. to go across the country and pick up a win. Colby, is there anyone for Winthrop for honors this week?
Yeah, we had Josh Goronsky, who made a honor roll this week. 6 for 14, 7 RBIs. Good weekend for him. And also Chaz Grosington had a pretty good week, 7 for 14. Yeah, I'm impressed going to Cali and going 3-1. So, is it 3-1?
Yeah.
Yes, 3-1. Yes,
3-1. Cali road trips really impressive.
Yes, I also want to take a minute here to thank you, Colby, and highlight you. Colby every week pulls together our honors for the stats of every single game, for every single team. He does a phenomenal job of pulling these together. So, Colby, I just want to say thank you so much. All of those weekly honors you guys see, it is Colby Gallimore. He's the backbone of this. So, Colby, just wanted to say thank you, sir, and you're doing a phenomenal job.
Yes, sir. I like doing it.
Yes, sir. Moving on to Northeastern over Elon. Northeastern wins game one 17-5. Elon wins game two 3-2, and then Northeastern wins the final one 17-7. So Elon giving up a lot of runs here. Colby, not sure if there's anyone for Elon.
Yeah, we had Owen Weinbarger. He was the pitcher that had the great game against State too, but he went 8 innings, 2 earned runs this week. I think that was their midweek game, but I could be wrong. But he was the only Elon player we had this week.
LaSalle over Davidson, and Braxton, me and you got a good chuckle about this on Saturday morning when we talked on the phone in the morning. Game one for Davidson was delayed due to darkness. We joked about our alma mater, Athens Drive, where you coach currently, and because they didn't have lights. So Davidson does end up dropping the series, but just wanted to get a good laugh out of that. And Davidson, man, I mean, they're going to have to start reeling in some wins here. I mean, they win the first one 17-13. You're thinking, oh, we got something here. And then lose game 2, 8-2, game 3, 10-1.
Yeah, tough series. I mean, LaSalle is a newer program, like you said, Case, and I think that's part of the reason why they don't have lights and they had a bit of a delay and darkness issue or whatever. So, but it's a good series win for them. I remember they played Clemson earlier in the year. They came down here, and I think they played a 4-game set, and obviously Clemson took care of business. But yeah, Davidson struggled. I think outside of Forrest Leitz and I think Matt Mangiaran, if I'm saying that right, those are two of the names that have been pretty consistent out of that lineup. But this is a team that typically has a good offense. I mean, you think of the names, Eli Putnam, who's been really, really phenomenal for Florida State this year, and Cider Cannon, of course, who is injured but started really hot with Duke. I mean, those are two bats they had in that lineup last year that were just plug-ins, right? And now I think losing those guys has really hurt them. They also are a program that doesn't really go into the portal much. I don't think they had any transfers. Maybe they might have had a couple, but they kind of build and develop from freshmen from what I see. So maybe it's time for them to adapt. I don't know. I think they might be fine with where they're at right now. I think they're 10-11, but I think, like you said, Casey, they need to start winning some more ball games and quick to compete in the A10. I believe they are. Let's see, they're 2-4 in the league play to start, so they're sitting kind of at the bottom of the league to start. But I would love to see them, because they're the only team we have in the A10. I would love to see them compete more in that conference and hopefully make it back to a regional.
Funny you brought up those guys that transferred out, because we have a treat coming out tomorrow morning. We have our stat leaders for the Carolinas coming out, and I was looking through our old post and kind of cleaning up the templates and getting that ready pre-show, and Putnam, O'Shaughnessy, and Cannon were all on the RBI leaders for the Carolinas when I was cleaning that up. So
O'Shaughnessy transferred somewhere too. I forget where it was.
Isn't it Georgia?
Yeah, that's right. It is Georgia.
Yeah, he
I mean,
transferred
those
to
are three
Georgia.
big time transfers
Yeah,
right there.
it's just pretty nuts how Davidson had those three guys, and Matt predicted them to make a super regional last year. So
That's right. That was a bold prediction,
that
but
was a bold
that's
prediction.
what we like though
Yeah.
because I mean he also just likes Davidson. I don't know
Oh
why
yeah.
there's a little
Oh yeah.
tick for Davidson, but
It's Davidson tick.
is Davidson tick, yeah.
ECU takes the series over UAB, wins game one, 3-2. Sean Jenkins comes in late to get the Pirates out of a jam. The Blazers had the go ahead run on the plate. Jenkins comes and puts out the fire as he has done multiple times. Game two, ECU wins 18-1. ECU finally gets Gavin Van Kempen some run support, and then he gets injured. But Reed Tobin told me he just had to use the bathroom. But then Steve and I go text me and said he's injured. And then so I went with a little back and forth there with them three of what's really going on. We don't know what's going on yet. I did not listen to Cliff Godwin's interview with Steven this morning, so I'm not sure. But those are two arms in 2 weeks going down for the Pirates. There's Saturday guy and Sunday guy. Curious what happens now as ECU plays Duke tomorrow. I will be in attendance for that game. And then game three, UAB wins 11-4. Davin Whitaker has really made the most of this opportunity going into this season. He has been a guy who's kind of been lost in the outfield shuffle for the Pirates, but he's been in the lineup almost every day and has really stood out. And Colby, is there anyone else on the honors that is there for the Pirates?
Yeah, just I butchered his last name last time. Carlos
Hakame.
Hakame. There we go.
Hakame.
He had a great week, 6 for 14. You just brought up Whitaker and Walker Barron. All had good weeks, and then obviously you brought up Jenkins out of the pen, good numbers, and then Norby had a good start on Friday.
Yeah, Braxton, they're really going to need Norby to step it up here. He has not been himself this season early, but now with Gavin out and Weber,
Yeah.
I don't feel good about Weber. I feel better about GVK, but still unsure. Herring played this weekend, which was a positive sign. Just a lot of unsureness for the Pirates right now because the bullpen is not fantastic, and you have Sean Jenkins in there. But Braxton, do you move Sean Jenkins to a starter now?
I think you could. It's kind of back to your roots a little bit for ECU with Norby and Jenkins because your newcomer arms that were standouts in Van Kempen and Weber are now possibly out for sideline for a longer period. So they're going to have to rely on those guys and some other guys that they have and they can trust. If it was me, I would probably move Jenkins to the rotation, but I don't know if they're going to do that because if they do that, they're going to have to find someone to be in that high leverage bullpen role that Jenkins has been so good in. And like you said, Casey, I think Norby's just going to have to be even better than what he's been this year, what he's been in the past, maybe even for them to go and win the conference. I think they definitely can. They're always going to be around the Pirates. They're always going to be competing in that league to win the conference. And I think it's going to be tough to host, especially with the injuries now. But I'm not going to count them out. I've made I won't make that mistake of counting the Pirates out because they always will battle, and that's what Cliff Godwin's teams do. And hopefully for their sake, Van Kempen's healthy and Weber can get back healthy, or whoever else is out can get back healthy. But it's just kind of sucked. There's been a lot of injuries this year, especially to arms, which we don't like to see, but it's part of the game, and it's why you got to have good depth, up and down that rotation and lineup. So.
Yeah, Colby, I want to get your take on this before we move on. I've talked about it with Steven on his show and also off of air, off mic, off record. You play baseball, Colby. Same with you, Braxton. Steven told me before the season with Coastal that he was curious how the Coastal Arms would handle that large workload they had going into deep into June. Those guys have not pitched that long in their life, those high intensity innings. And as Braxton just said, we've kind of seen it across the country, not just the Carolinas, of these arms kind of going down, these high profile arms, and just how much of an adjustment is it? And also, do you think these guys are maybe being overworked or overpitched?
Yeah, maybe. I think it's more of just the last 10 years in baseball in general. You look at it in the major leagues too. There's an abundance of arm injuries, and I think it's chase and velocity and a lot of breaking balls. And I think it's going to continue arm injuries. Maybe some of it's the workload, but you're only pitching these guys in the rotation are pitching once a week. So guys in the majors pitching once, maybe twice, if that's their week to be twice in the rotation. So yeah, I think it's more chasing velocity and breaking balls.
Yeah, you make a really good point there because, I mean, 10 years ago, we weren't having a lot of guys touching 100. And then the last couple of years, Tennessee rolls out 5 guys in a row that are touching 102. It's just like, what in the world?
Yeah, 95 is the new 90. Like, I remember, even from when I was playing or when I was growing up playing, like 90 was like crazy, and now that's like slow. Like, it's kind of crazy how that moves. And I mean, I think that definitely could contribute, like you said, chasing velocity, but it's just part of pitching, right? Like, you can get overworked. You're pitching a lot of pitches. It's a lot of wear and tear on the arm. I mean, that's the sport of baseball is a lot of wear and tear on the arm. If you're playing 4 or 5 years, even if you're a position player, like, that's a lot of throwing. It's a lot of, possible injuries that come with that. And I think it's just part of the game. And I think, teams really try to do a good job of arm care and keeping their athletes healthy with, athletic training and all their programs and strength training, conditioning, things like that. So it's just unfortunate, but it is part of the game. So hopefully we don't see it continue at this rate, especially for this season and seasons to come. But I think it will be a part of the game. It will be here for forever. So.
Oh, yeah, it's awful because I don't want it anymore for the talent. And Colby, I want to make your job harder and harder with better and better pitching each and every week. And speaking of making your job hard, Colby, there were tons of guys for Campbell this weekend as Campbell sweeps Townsend. 5-0 week for Campbell, beating Duke and Coastal at home. Campbell wins game 1, 19-4. Game 2, 20-4. Game 3, 12-8. And Colby, you have the floor to name their entire lineup and entire pitching staff right now for the Camels as they lit up the Tigers.
Yeah, I could spend an hour going through Campbell's honors, but we had Jonah Oster, big week, 10 for 23, two bombs, 7 RBIs, and then hit for the cycle yesterday, right, Braxton?
Yeah.
Mike Murphy, big week, 9 for 20, 7 RBIs, a couple bombs. Elijah Clayton, 6 for 15, 7 RBIs, 8 runs scored. And Jet Music, who was our player of the week, 5 for 10, and all 5 of those hits were home runs. He had 13 RBIs. So just a crazy week for the Camels. Going through their stats, I just kept adding more and more names. It took me a lot of time for the Camels, but that means they had a good week. So.
Jet Music, first team all name, first team all curveball this week. Feel the music, baby. Unreal, Braxton. Just an unreal stat line there. 5 home runs, 5 hits. Unbelievable. Braxton, we had a tough time making the rankings. We'll get into that later, but Campbell seeps into our rankings. And, man, is Campbell back?
They are, man. We talked about it a little bit after their midweek win against Coastal, but, I mean, we had to find a way to get Campbell in the rankings. I mean, they're on an absolute tear, and I'm happy because that was my bold prediction, was that they would be a tournament team this year. I think they're certainly looking like one right now. I hope it continues. They start 8-1 in league play, which is really good to see in the CAA. I know they've kind of played a bit of a weaker CAA schedule to start, right? They've had William and Mary, they've had A&T, and they've had now Towson. But I think it's important because they weren't taking care of these games last year very, very frequently. And I think they're starting to do that now. You get the big 2 midweek wins against Duke and against Coastal at home. Now can they go on the road and play State tomorrow? Well, I think that's another big game, big opportunity for them. Certainly one that we'll have our eyes on. But, yeah, Campbell is hot. Campbell is back, and we're certainly excited about it. So.
Yeah, I was seeing flashes of 2022 Campbell here watching this. I mean, good Lord. For a second there, I thought, is that Neto playing? Is that Neto playing shortstop here when I saw those scores? I was like, oh, my gosh, and Lawson Harrell. But to move it over to the Big South, Charleston Southern, your guys' Buccaneers wins over Gardner-Webb. I picked Gardner-Webb. Charleston Southern wins game one 16-5. Gardner-Webb wins 8-5. Charleston Southern then wins the rubber match 14-4. Colby, your thoughts on Charleston Southern, as well as they have a few guys on honor roll and possibly Gardner-Webb too.
Yeah, like what I'm saying from Charleston Southern taking the series. Gardner-Webb, good team. They were in our rankings a couple weeks ago to take 2 out of 3 against a in-conference opponent. Really solid. For in terms of honors, we had Mason Reesing, probably getting that wrong, 6 for 12, 7 RBIs, 3 homers for Charleston Southern. Lucas Pringle, 9 for 17, 7 RBIs, a home run. And then Alex Moreau, Nathan Martinez both had pretty good weeks for Charleston Southern as well. And then one name I wanted to highlight for Gardner-Webb was Drew Rapipe. Probably getting that wrong too. He went 7 for 13 this week, home run, 5 RBIs.
Very nice. I love Lucas Pringle's picture we chose. He did the scuba. Pretty sick on second base there. Pretty sick. Shout out Cam Ward too. But Braxton, Charleston Southern keeps positioning themselves in the Big South, and Gardner-Webb, Jim Chester's bunts falls. But Charleston Southern, I mean, there was some Big South shakeup this week. We'll get into that a little more on Thursday once the midweek happens. But Braxton, just your thoughts on this series, sir?
Yeah, it was a good series. Shout out Charleston Southern. They just retweeted our honor roll post, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, really good to see the Bucs start Big South play with a series win. Obviously tough for Gardner-Webb, but they are still 3-3 in league play, right there in the mix. But yeah, I think for Charleston Southern, I wanted to see them start off well. I think it was kind of harsh for them to drop from our rankings. Was it last week? I know they had like a 1-3 week, but I just think that this team's been consistent this year. They were consistent last year to begin the year. They were in the Big South Championship last year at the end of the season. Like, this is a team that's right there. I think they brought a lot back. That they had a couple missing pieces that they think they filled, and you got to give them credit. They've been playing some good ball, and I think they're going to be right there in the mix in the Big South. And I think they could find themselves in our rankings again before it's all said and done if they continue in this direction.
Colby, your alma mater was unable to make the trip to Kansas and get it done. They dropped game 1, 8-3, win game 2, 19-6, and then dropped game 3, 7-2. Colby, the 49ers were hot a few weeks ago, and then mellowed off. But as I said on the preview show, I mean, it's not easy making that trip to Kansas and going down there to win, no matter how bad that Wichita State team is. And I even told you, Braxton, Wichita State's going to beat the good teams, but I promise you they will get swept by Memphis UAB at some point this season, just because that's how the American works for baseball. But Colby, your thoughts on Charlotte, as well as they had a couple guys on the honor roll as well.
Yeah, pretty up and down week for Charlotte, winning in Columbia on Tuesday, then losing at home against Upstate on Wednesday, and then dropping 2 out of 3 against Wichita. Yeah, looking at their player stats, it's tough to see how they went 2-3 this week because their bats were on fire. We had Dylan Kuntz, 9 for 22, 3 bombs, 9 RBI. Cale Strickland was 11 for 19 this week, 2 homers and 12 RBI. And a few other names. Cody Gunderson was 10 for 21, and DiMartino had a pretty solid week as well. I just think pitching let down Charlotte's performance this week, but yeah, it happens. They were on fire a couple weeks ago, up and down week this week. Hopefully they'll kick it back into gear the rest of American play.
Mercer defeats Citadel 2-1 in SoCon action. Mercer wins in game 1, 11-0. 8-4 game 2, and then Citadel takes game 3 to avoid the sweep. Mercer sits atop the SoCon right now with the best record. They're now sitting at 20-4 off the top of my head from when last time I looked. And Braxton, the real shock of the week, Clemson travels to South Bend and is unable to get a game as Notre Dame wins in game 1, 6-0. I had to check that when I first saw it to see if that was right, because I was like, no, there's just no way. And then Notre Dame wins game 2, 8-7, and then Notre Dame takes the series, took the series 8-7, then sweeps them 7-4. What is going on in Clemson, Braxton?
Yeah, I mean that was the shock of the weekend. Like we started off the show saying, I did not expect them to get swept. That is for sure. I wasn't that shocked when they got beat the first day. Canax kind of struggled a little bit this season to just be effective and get wins. I think his strikeouts aren't really down. I think it's just more he's getting hit a lot more. Guys are starting to kind of figure him out. And yeah, I mean Clemson, give Notre Dame credit. Unfortunately, we weren't really able to watch because I don't even think they streamed the second.
No, they couldn't stream. It is. I'm gonna get on. I'm gonna get on soap. I'm gonna get on soapbox. I'm gonna get on a high horse here. It is unbelievable in 2026. Two Power Four programs cannot have a stream for a game. I mean, that just should not happen. It just should not happen. And even to go a level down, we should not at Division One level should not have darkness delays. I'm sorry. It just should not happen. Continue.
No, I mean,
continue, please.
It's certainly right. We want to be able to watch these games. I mean, we just get to look at the scores and see they get swept. I mean, but for Clemson's sake, 1-5 start in the ACC is not cutting it. I think they've got to find a way to turn it around quick. Obviously, they played Georgia Tech, who was tough, but you play Notre Dame on the road here, you get swept. They've got to find a way to bounce back, and I think they get their first opportunity to kind of do that tomorrow on national television. So we go from no stream to ACC network against Coastal at home. So that will be a good one to watch tomorrow at 7:00, and a good opportunity for Clemson to re-announce themselves as still a very good program in the Carolinas.
Yeah, shout out ESPN for putting that game on, but I think it was funny though when they posted the final for this game, game two. The whole plaster. Well, thank the Lord. Thank the Lord, I didn't have to watch it. So I guess hey, Clemson fans, if there's a plus, there's a plus. But Colby, your thoughts on Clemson going to South Bend and getting swept, kind of, and then 1-5 in the ACC, sir?
Yeah, not great. I think this might say more about Notre Dame than it does about Clemson. I think Notre Dame's pretty dang good. But yeah, obviously not the start you want for Clemson, but a lot of ball left to be played. Flush this one and got a big one tomorrow.
Huge one on national television, going from a VHS tape to a television. That's pretty crazy. Coastal sweeps James Madison. Coastal takes care of them pretty easy. Coastal wins game 1, 12-2. They end game 2, 10-0 in 7 innings, run rule them. Game 3, 6-3 in Colby. There were loads of guys on the honor roll. Also want to shout out Jacob Morrison was liking our tweet, so shout out him. Hope you're killing it in the big league, kid. You're doing great. But Colby, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, we had Ross Norman on our honor roll, pitching 7 innings, no earned runs, 6 strikeouts, got the win against James Madison. Then we had a couple of hitters. We had Dean Mijos, 6 for 14, 7 RBIs, 2 bombs. And Rex Watson seems like he's becoming a regular, 6 for 16, 3 bombs. And then Trace Mason and Blake Barthol also had pretty good weeks at 7 for 15, 3 RBIs, a homer for Trace, and Barthol 6 for 15, 6 RBIs this week.
No Thorndike because he wasn't playing East Carolina Pirates. But Braxton,
I actually did have him too.
You did? Oh my gosh.
6 for 15, 3 RBIs.
4 steals.
Yeah.
That guy can run.
Yeah. But Braxton, I want to hear your take on this. We were talking about last night. We were making it just Dean Mijos is an absolute dog. I mean, he is just like a junkyard dog. I mean, that's the best way to put it.
No, he's I mean, just to see the development he's had over 3 or 4 years. I remember watching a Coastal stream this year, and they were talking about his average exit velocity has jumped up like 3 or 4 miles per hour every year. And I mean, that just goes to show what can happen when you develop in the weight room. You come in as a freshman at a place like Coastal Carolina
and stay with a program that invests in you.
Yeah, and now he's hitting leadoff for that team that just came off a national championship trip. And I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, he's worked himself into possibly a draft prospect. I don't know. I haven't looked at anything like that or draft boards, but I mean, what he's been doing this year for them and last year for them has been really impressive. And he does follow us too, so shout out to him. He's been playing really great, and we hope it continues.
Oh yeah, for sure. Shout out Dean Mijos. To move to the CAA, UNC Wilmington gets a series win over College of Charleston 2-1. They win game 1 2-1. They win game 2 8-1. College of Charleston wins game 3 to avoid the sweep 6-3. Wilmington has been playing well as of late. Colby, anyone on either side of the diamond here, sir?
Yeah, not much. We got Connor Marshburn. He made our honor roll. Went 6 scoreless, 7 strikeouts. Got the win against College Charleston. Mason Hughes, another good week for UNCW. 6 for 14, 3 RBIs, a home run. Want to give a shout out to Jace Stansel of College of Charleston. He had 9 strikeouts in 5 innings, which is pretty impressive. So that's all I got.
Braxton, as I'm looking at it right now, we got Northeastern and UNC Wilmington right now at top of and Campbell. And Campbell, you got those three there as Northeastern, Campbell, and UNC Wilmington. They do the north-south split, which is absolutely absurd. But Braxton, as you've kind of started, this is now the 3rd week of CAA play. Just kind of how do you see it out? How do you see it playing out early?
I think it's going to be between Campbell and UNCW. I think those are the best 2 teams in the league. You know, you can maybe throw Northeastern in there. Obviously, they won it last year. They were very impressive. They lost a little bit of talent, especially on the pitching side. But I don't, College of Charleston does pick up a nice win here. But I think they've been too inconsistent this year, and I think that may continue, as well as Elon. I think Elon can really pitch it, but I worry about their offense a little bit more than I do a team like UNCW or Campbell. So I don't know when that series is or if they play, but that will be a fun one when they do match up. And yeah, I mean, Wilmington's kind of dominated this conference over the last 4 or 5 years. But I think Campbell came in a couple years ago and expected to kind of be right in the mix of things right away. They've had a couple of adjustment years. They lost their coach, and now Marks is in his 2nd season, and they're starting to hit the ground running here. And I think that it is going to come down to those 2 teams. I think possibly it could be a 2-bid league, maybe more. I don't see it being a 3-bid league, quite frankly, but I think if these 2 teams have good enough seasons, respectively, in the conference, I mean, right now they're 8-1 in Campbell's case, and 5-1 for Wilmington. You could see both of them end up in the tournament. You never know. So we will see, but I expect it to be a 2-horse race.
To move it into the ACC, Duke falls to Virginia Tech 2-1. Virginia Tech wins game 1 7-1. Duke wins game 2 8-6. Then Virginia Tech wins game 3 7-6. Duke kind of struggling as of late, reeling not so well. Colby, is there anyone for Duke, and your thoughts on the Blue Devils dropping the series?
Yeah, we had Matthew Strand on our roll. He went 7 for 14, 2 homers, 4 RBI. Really solid week. When Cider Cannon went down for was that 2 or 3 weeks ago for 8 weeks, so he's still out another month plus. If that timeline they first gave was accurate, I was concerned, and I'm still concerned. It's going to be tough for them to make the tournament, in my opinion. I know there's a lot of ball to play and can get hot, but without him, I think it's going to be tough sledding for Duke.
I think the good thing for them is they're going to have the opportunity to catch up ground, because you do play in the ACC. You will get those RPI opportunities. You will get the opportunities to build your strength of schedule. It will build itself. But Braxton, as you said, I mean, when you have the heart of your lineup out and one of the best players in the Carolinas, if not the country, out of your lineup, it's going to hurt. Also, this is a first-year head coach. He's still figuring it out. I just don't think it's a good storm right now for the Blue Devils in Durham.
Yeah, it's tough sledding for sure. I mean, both these teams start off 4-5 in league play. If you're Duke, you got to get healthy. But they're battling. Like, I was quite impressed with them the other day. I mean, this could have gone the other way. We went to extra innings yesterday in the rubber match. Caden Smith has been really, really good for them. The Charleston Southern transfer that they picked up in January, actually, kind of a late ad for them. But he's starting to heat up, which I think is good, especially with Cannon out. And then, like you mentioned, Colby, Matt Strand has been phenomenal for them the last couple weeks when they beat Miami last week in particular, and then again this week. So Duke can turn it around, though. Obviously they play ECU tomorrow. It's a good opportunity for them to get an in-state win. and kind of build off from that.
High Point sweeps Presbyterian 3-0. Colby, you got anyone for High Point?
Only guy I got was Wade Walton. He had 8 strikeouts and 7 2/3 this weekend.
Very nice. We're going to move to the next one kind of quickly. William and Mary unfortunately sweeps A&T 9-5, 6-5, 11-10. Unfortunate for A&T. Hey, guys, I think we'll get a series win here soon. Florida State over NC State. Colby, NC State wins game 1, 6-4, drops game 2, 11-5, and then game 3, they lose 15-5. I watched a little bit of game 1 and 2. Game 1 was good for NC State, and then game 3 was a hard watch. Can't even lie to you, sir. But I know Marone did very well on Friday.
Yeah, that's who we had on our honor roll, Marone and Nance, for their Friday night performance. Marone went 6 innings, 10 strikeouts, and then Nance went the final 3 without allowing a run for the game 1 win. And also, Luke Nixon had a really good week. He went 10 for 19 this week, 4 RBIs. In terms of State, yeah, good win on Friday, and then they just got roughed up on Saturday. They hit Duden really hard, and then they hit Heath Andrews especially hard. I think Heath didn't even make it out of the second inning. I think State is now 0-11 or 0-12 in all-time series in Tallahassee when they traveled at Florida State.
Wow.
They just can't win there. I don't think many teams can. Tough. I mean, Miles Bailey, it seemed like he homered every at-bat this weekend. So I'm glad they got one, looking at it from a positive view. But, yeah, it sucks not getting the series when you take game 1.
Yeah, Miles Bailey is ridiculous. I mean, what are we doing here? I mean, geez, like he needs to be on the gridiron, not the diamond.
That first home run he hit was – I watched that live. I yelped. That ball was hit so hard. Yeah. It was unbelievable. That ball came up. I think it came off the bat at 117.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. But on a positive note, Queens, they get a series win over Jacksonville. Braxton, this was tough. We had to keep them out of our rankings this week, but this was a big win for them. They did drop game 1, 17-5, not off to a promising start. And then they won game 2, 4-1, win game 3, 4-3. But Braxton, how tough was it to keep them out of that 12 spot?
I mean, it's just an unnecessary stray there from Kaysen. But let's give Queens some credit. They got a freaking series win this week against a good Jacksonville team. So I'm all for it. Joey Ruler with a great outing. I think he was on the honor roll. He was close to having another one earlier in the season as well. I think he threw 7 or 8 innings with I think it was – did he give up any runs, Colby? He might have, but 9 Ks.
Yep, 9 Ks, 1 earned run.
And then BJ Brown is a UNCW transfer, I believe. He hit a walk-off home run to take the series yesterday. They were down 3-1 in the 9th, 2 on. I think there may have been 1 out maybe. And he just puts one in the jet stream, and it rides out of there. I mean, the announcer was very hyped, too. It was actually an awesome clip to see. We posted it on our page. If you weren't able to see it, go check it out. But yeah, I mean, it was electric. I mean, it was awesome. Shout out to that Queens program for getting a series win. And you never know. I mean, look, they're already 3 wins away from their season total last season. So, you get a weekend sweep and you match it. I'm not, we'll see how I think we've all predicted that they would be better this season. I don't expect them to be around 500 or anything like that, but I think that they can build off of this and kind of the success that they've had. Obviously, they get the win against South Carolina this year, which was historic, but it's good to see them win a series, especially at home against I think it's a conference foe. So really nice to see.
They are miles better than they were last year.
Yes,
I agree. Yeah.
So that's fun to see for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not mean to stray. I'm very happy for Queens getting a win. It's huge for us. We would love for them to be good. I think it's a phenomenal story.
Also, Grayson Childers had a big week at the plate for Queens. He went 5 for 9, 2 bombs. They only had 3 games this week, so the stats aren't as high with the hits and at bats. But he had a really good weekend.
I got him on my Diamond team. Shout out Diamond Stats, by the way. What an app! That's the other thing, the other storyline from this weekend that we haven't even gotten to yet. But just a phenomenal job that they've done with that app. If you don't have it, go download it because it's awesome.
Yeah, I was. This is a good comment because I heard Queen and Elon were merging. Aren't they merging? Because I saw it when the NCAA tournament was happening. They were like, "This is
Oh yeah,
Queen's first
wasn't
time
this
making the tournament."
wasn't this like a headline last season and
Yes,
it
it
never really,
was.
I don't know if it was like just academic or what, but
Yeah, I think it's just academic. I think they're still keeping their separate athletic programs.
Yeah, which is
I
quite
could be
bizarre.
totally wrong, but
Yeah. But I think it is crazy though because I did see a tweet on Twitter when they made the tournament. They're like, "Oh, this is their first and last appearance." I was like, "Hold on." So that's still going on. I don't know if that still is a thing or whatever. We'll do some research on that.
yeah,
Um,
they're going to be
Go ahead,
separate
Colby.
athletic programs.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so shouldn't be their last unless they never make it again. But that coach, that Queens basketball looks pretty good. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and he is not scared to speak his mind, and I love it. I love it.
yeah,
I think it's pretty electric. Quickly, Villanova over UNC Asheville. Asheville wins game one, 12-9, but then drops the next two, 10-4, then 11-6. Braxton, if you want to go over to the next. Oh, Cole, did you have anyone for Asheville?
I didn't. No.
Okay. Okay.
right.
The next one, the Heels series win over Louisville in North Carolina takes game one, 11-1. Louisville wins game two, 2-0. Game three, 7-6. Braxton, I don't remember the situation off the top of my head, but I was watching game three. I know they walked the bases loaded. Was it once or twice to take the lead and tie it? And then I know Paulson cleared the
Yeah.
bases to really jump on them in the game three to take the series.
Yeah, it was kind of a bit of 2-out magic there in the eighth. Gallagher actually had I think they called it an infield hit, but it may have been just a fielder's choice. I can't remember exactly what happened on the play, but he had balled a short that tied the game up when they had some runners on. And then Paulson, like you said, delivers a double in the gap to clear the bases to kind of break it open for the Heels. But good to see them win the series. I mean, they were dominant on Friday behind a good Jason DeCaro start, which was awesome to see for Carolina fans. Just kind of see him get his stuff back and look good against a good Louisville team. And then the bats kind of fell asleep from there, especially on Saturday. They just could not get anything going against that crafty lefty that Louisville threw. I thought that Lynch didn't have a bad start. The positive from that day, Kaysen, was McDuffie. We kind of talked about him midweek. He had a really good weekend throwing the baseball, which was good to see. And then Caden Glauber, which I know that Colby will probably highlight here, had a phenomenal week. 3 different appearances, and he made our honor roll. He had like 13 strikeouts in 7 combined innings. But he's been a really, really good piece as a freshman. We always talk about it every year. The Heels have some freshman arms that just kind of step up out of nowhere that you may not know their names at the beginning of the year, but you certainly know them at the middle and end of the year. And I think Glauber kind of falls in that category. But like I said, really good to see them win the series. I think this is one they easily could have dropped, and they find a way to win that game on Sunday, which is when it gets down to it. You've got to win games like this to earn that host spot, and I think they did that this week. So really positive stuff there in Chapel Hill for them.
Colby, got anyone for the Heels, sir?
Yeah, you mentioned Brax mentioned Glauber, 3 appearances, 13 strikeouts, over 7 1/3, really impressive week. And then Owen Hole had a really good week at the plate for Carolina.
I'll tell you what, man, it's crazy how he started pretty poorly, and he's now leading the team in hits, in average.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of a sudden, he's just tearing it up. So really good to see him the way he's been playing.
Yeah, this is a gritty series. Especially going back to yesterday, down pretty late in the game and come back and win to take the series finale and take 2 out of 3. Really impressed.
Eastern Tennessee takes 2 out of 3 versus UNCG. G wins the first one, 6-3. Eastern Tennessee takes the next one, 8-2, and then they take the last one, as you see, 15-8. G was hanging with them for a little bit, and then East Tennessee scored a run. I think every single inning. I watched the final inning. I think it was the top of the 9th. It was just a parade at home plate. It was ridiculous. Kind of felt kind of bad for him. Longwood over Upstate. Braxton, are you kind of shocked by this? I am, to be honest with you. Upstate wins the first one 5-4. They then lose the second one 5-4. and then lose the third one 12-11. I mean, they lost every game by one run. I mean, man.
Yeah, tough series. I mean, we've talked about a little bit. Longwood's definitely much improved. They've looked good against. I remember in a midweek I was watching them against Carolina play, and they looked really good. They had good arms, good bats. So I expected this to be a competitive series. I did expect Upstate to take it. Unfortunately, they do not. Which that's kind of been the story of the season so far for them. That they'll get some good big wins, especially in the midweek, like they did this week in that crazy game at Charlotte. We kind of talked a little bit prior to the weekend happening. They could see themselves in the rankings if they continue in this trajectory and win their weekend series. But it feels like every time we say that, they lose their weekend series. I can think back to when they lost to Georgia Southern. Obviously, they played Texas, who's number 2 in the country, which they battled. We don't fault them for that, but yeah, I was a little bit surprised. I think it's not the start you wanted if you're Upstate. Obviously, you did get the series win against High Point last weekend, so you're 3-3 in league play. I think at Longwood is a tougher series than it would have been in years past. As a whole, the Big South is better this year, so just important for them to kind of bounce back. They go to Knoxville tomorrow to play Tennessee, so a good opportunity for your bunch to get what could be a big time, top 25 win if you play your cards right. But just in terms of league play, you've got to be able to bounce back next week from this one against Longwood. But credit to Longwood for winning that series.
Cole, would you have anyone for Upstate, sir?
Yeah, the same usual suspects. Henry Zenor was on our honor roll. He went 9 for 17, 6 RBIs, and then Sweeney, another good week, 6 for 11, a home run, 4 RBIs.
Wake Forest drops the series to Virginia. Virginia wins the first one 10-6. Wake Forest wins the second one 13-4. And then Virginia handles them 14-4. I said on my bold prediction, I think Wake Forest goes up there and gets it done. They were unable to, but they did win game 2 13-4. That's good for some RPI points. Colby, is there anyone for Wake Forest, sir?
Yeah, we had Bagwell on our honor roll, but this was for his midweek start against Liberty. He went 7 innings, no runs, and 9 strikeouts, and got the dub against Liberty. So really nice outing for him. Probably one of the best, if not the best, midweek starters in the country, I'd say. And then Cade Lewis, another good week, 8 for 16, 4 RBI. Blake Schaff was 6 for 12 this week, 3 RBI. Some good hitting performances at Wake, but tough to win at Virginia.
Yeah.
Very tough to win at Virginia. Braxton, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, no, I expected Virginia to win the series, but I think it's good for Wake to get a game out of that series. Like you said, they've been really good. Both sides of the ball, they've got some really, really good players. I mean, you think of Lewis, you think of Wentz, you think of Costello, who's been gigantic for them offensively. And then, like you said, I mean, Bagwell's been great in the midweek, but you've got such a stellar weekend rotation too. I don't think there's much to worry about there in Winston-Salem. I think you just keep, putting the lineups out that you've been putting out, and you're going to win a lot of ball games. It's just the ACC is competitive. Virginia's a very good ball club. And this could have gone the other way too. I think Wake had a lead in this game early on, but unfortunately, Virginia can just hit the baseball really well. So that is what it is. But Wake does play. Who do they play tomorrow? I have it on here.
Elon, I think.
Elon, yeah. So a good opportunity for them to bounce back there.
Speaking of a crazy ending, Western Carolina and Sanford. I mean, if you haven't seen it, you're a college baseball fan. I don't know what to tell you. That strike 3 call for that Western Sanford game was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Welcome to the Show. That's what I have to say. Sanford wins game 1, 11-0. Western wins game 2, 11-9. And then Western wins game 3, 10-9 to take the series, one of the 15 rubber matches. Colby, I know you saw it before you get into the stats. Your thoughts on that call? Was it a strike?
Oh, yeah. Great call. Great call from No, yeah, that was absurd.
For those who did not see it, I mean, it was just Braxton. I mean, I don't think it gets worse.
No, I mean, it was a ball The pitcher and catcher played it as a ball. Like the catcher was already throwing the ball back, and then all of a sudden you get the strike call. He's shaking the umpire's hand, and the game's over. So I mean, the hitter had every right to be upset there. I think his coach kind of got on him. I mean, he couldn't tell how far outside that ball was, but you could see the catcher reach from the dugout. I mean, it is what it is, though. Let's not let that take away from a great series this was. I mean, we knew it would be. Sanford has kind of struggled early in the year, being under 500. They were kind of a favorite in this conference, but really good to see Western win their opening series against, the conference front runner in some senses at home in Cullowhee. So I'm happy because I'm high on the Catamounts. I have them to win the league in my bold prediction, so that's definitely a good start for me there.
They're a very good team, a mainstay in our rankings the last couple of weeks. And Colby,
I would love to see them. I really want to see them in a regional.
Me too. They would be a dangerous 4.
Yes.
Colby, any Catamounts?
Yeah, Trent Turner, 6 for 15, 2 homers and 8 RBI. Really solid week. That's all I got.
Okay. Wofford takes the series over Xavier. I'm gonna kind of actually no. I kind of want to talk about these. Wofford over Xavier 2-1. Xavier wins. Xavier won game 1 8-1. Wofford wins game 2 14-2. And then Wofford wins this last one 8-5. Colby, are there any Terriers?
Yeah, Logan Tribble. He went 7 for 17, a home run, a double, 2 stolen bases, 5 RBI.
And go ahead, Braxton.
Wofford just always has stud hitters. Yes. You'll probably see some of them on our stat leaders, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah. Looking forward to seeing what they do in the SoCon as well. Now, I want to touch on this one. South Carolina. South Carolina gets a game versus Arkansas at home. I think it's big. Arkansas drops the first one 22-6. That kind of triggers whatever happened with Mainieri. I mean, you don't know if it happened after the game. I don't think we really know. But then in game 2, I mean, Braxton, they had a chance to win, if I'm not mistaken, game 2. And then they do take game 3 9-4. Because wasn't it a botched throw to first?
Yeah, they were 1 out away. They got the ground out. Valentin on the mound, their closer pretty much. And they get the ground ball, and Scobie, I think it was Scobie, just kind of throws it away a little bit. And then all of a sudden, Arkansas scores the tying run, and they end up winning the game. And that was a good outing again from Amp Phillips, who's been really, really good for them on the bump.
Yes.
We know him well from his upstate days last season. But, yeah, I mean, good to see them win yesterday. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, they played with a lot more energy just off these first 2 days under Monty Lee. And there was a nice clip that came out on social media of him kind of celebrating with the team after his first win, as the head guy there, as the interim head coach. And, I think they can build off of this. We were talking to Reed about it, and when we were hanging out this weekend, I could kind of see them getting a little bit hot here. I think it's still going to be tough for them to win SEC series, just purely based on you're playing really good teams every week. But I think that with this talent and with this kind of new energy around the program already, right, before there's even been, a new name decided or whatever, you're just playing free. You can either sit down and get beat up, or you can get up and battle. And I think they decided to do the latter there, and it's shown already here as they get a win against the number 4 team in the country on Sunday.
They look like a team, Colby, that wants to play for their head coach. They look like a team that wants to play hard. They look motivated. They looked great. Tyler Batt, Colby, I know you'll touch on him in a second. He had a phenomenal rob of a home run in center field. Great jump, perfect time, robbed it. And what if, I mean, let's just play some hypotheticals here. I mean, what if Coastal goes on a little bit of a run here? And I mean, they beat they took a game from Arkansas. They could have taken this. What'd you say, Braxton?
No, you said
Coastal.
Oh, what did I say?
You said
Coastal. You meant Gamecocks.
Oh, yeah. Cox. Sorry, but yeah, sorry. Excuse me. But let's play a little bit of a hypothetical here. Like if this looks to have played out exactly the way they wanted it to. I mean, as soon as they fire Mainieri, I mean, they start playing like they have life again. I mean, this is the best they've looked since that Clemson game with Gunther. I mean, what if they go on a run here, and let's say they get into tournament conversation? I mean, is Monty Lee the guy?
Yeah, I would say so. If he gets him into a tournament position, I think he's absolutely deserves the right to at least be in the conversation of he should get the job.
Colby?
I don't know. Obviously, it has worked out. Different jolt of energy, playing behind a different coach. If they do get into the tournament, it's tough. It kind of reminds me. I'm going to a different sport, but Charlotte basketball when
Aaron Fern.
Yeah, Aaron Fern after Ron Sanchez quit a week before the season for some reason. Fern had a solid first year as the interim, and then they gave him a lot of money, a full-time contract, and he just got fired a week. So I'm hesitant on giving interims, but if they somehow make the tournament, I mean, he's definitely going to have a case.
Yes. Yeah. And Colby to kind of play devil's advocate here and kind of go back and forth with you. I mean, look at East Carolina football. They fire Mike Houston, hire Blake Harrell interim, and Blake Harrell's, I think, 14-5 since he's took over as head coach, 2 bowl wins over ACC teams. So it can go either way, 100%, Colby, without a doubt. You also see it in the NFL too. It's happened there with Pierce with the Raiders. They hired him, and that crashed and burned. So it can go either way, 100%. We'll be following it close here at Carolina Curveball. And to wrap up the weekend, we have gone long. Thank you, people, for listening. If you're still watching, we appreciate it. We still have a few things to go over. I'm not much of a hurry to get off, to be honest with you. We're having a great conversation. This is a phenomenal show. App State over Old Dominion 2-1. Old Dominion wins game 1 13-7. App State then wins 10-3 and then 10-6 to take it. Nice bounce back here from App State. Braxton in the Sun Belt going to Old Dominion. That's a tough place to play. Reed Tobin has lost jackets there as well as Tiers. So nice for the Mountaineers to get a series win in Norfolk.
Oh yeah, this was unexpected from I kind of picked Old Dominion to win 2 out of 3. I did expect App State to get a win with Peterson on the mound, which they did. But really good to see them take the rubber match as well. I think, like you said, they had a couple chances to beat Coastal in their Sun Belt opener, and they didn't take it. So to see them go on the road and kind of bounce back and win a series, and that kind of gives them some juice, as they continue in Sun Belt play. But yeah, good to see for the Mountaineers. And I don't know if they had anyone in the honor roll this week, but they definitely had some good performers, I think.
Colby?
Yeah, I have Ethan Puig. He went 6 for 14 with 5 RBIs.
Yeah, he's been solid.
Going back to South Carolina too. We touched on back, but
my fault.
No, you're good. Jake Randolph. He only had 5 at bats, and it was on Saturday and Sunday. He came in late Saturday and played all Sunday. He went 4 for 5 with 3 bombs. I mean, that's the type of jolt coming off of a guy that hasn't played much to come in and provide 3 home runs against Arkansas to help win a game on Sunday. So, shout out to him.
That's something. Yeah, that's something I also want to touch on. Holden Blake on our Instagram story. Please be sure to swipe up our Instagram story on Sunday nights when we post your biggest takeaways. Holden Blake just said Jake Randolph, period. As Colby said, phenomenal. Thomas Pierce said Rank Campbell. Braxton said Clemson frauds, ? And then BS Little 2001 said pitching is everything. I agree. Pitching is everything. And it is even more important now for your guys to stay healthy. That'll do it for the recap portion of this. Braxton, what else do you want to touch on tonight, sir?
I mean, we can do rankings, or we can do a little quick look at the midweek. I would say we probably have time to do one of those, but it's up to you.
Let's do a look at the midweek, because I think we kind of discuss a lot about these teams' weeks and kind of where they are. And if you want to see our rankings, go to our page. It is the pinned tweet. So be sure to look at those. As Braxton is pulling up the midweek, this is a phenomenal midweek slate. Last week's was kind of but this week is absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to cut these in half here. I'm going to read them off. East Carolina at Duke at 4 p.m. ACC Network Extra. Me and allegedly the Money Man will be there joining me in Durham. So we shall see. That is alleged. Also going to see some 94.3 the games and hoist the colors guys. Jonathan Wagner and Philip Pilkington will be making the trip as well. So that'll be fun to see those fellas as well. Western Carolina at Asheville, 4 p.m. ESPN Plus. UNCG at Liberty. Liberty once again doesn't play any Virginia schools, just all of our schools in the Carolinas. 4 p.m. ESPN Plus. Campbell at NC State. Braxton alluded to earlier.
Guys, look at the time. It is possible to play a game with the Doak that is not.
Wow. That's huge. That is incredible, Gallimore. Incredible. Absolute fire. Absolute fireworks. Elon at Wake Forest, 6 p.m. ACC Network Extra. Upstate at Tennessee, Braxton. I mean, that is just not ideal for the Spartans coming off.
Oh, that's ideal. We love opportunities like that.
Yeah. Okay. Respect. Okay.
Come on.
Okay. Respect. Queens at Charlotte. Colby, watch out. The Royals are hot, sir. Be careful down there.
Yeah, it could get interesting.
And we'll kind of cut it off right there. I'll go to the bottom ones after. But of the top ones, which one do you guys have your eye on the most?
Gamble. I look for them to play State tough. I know we kind of talked about it. Maybe it was either me and Kaysen or me and Colby. State kind of struggles at home in midweeks, but they play better on the road, I think. I think this is one Campbell would have their eyes on to win. I think State also will not take Campbell lightly, especially with the week they've had. I don't know. Do you know who they're going to pitch possibly? Maybe Consiglio?
I mean, Consiglio came in yesterday, so
that's right. I didn't see that. Yeah, so, I mean, it could be interesting, especially with the way that Campbell played last week in their midweeks. So definitely that one, and then obviously Upstate heading to Knoxville, I will be tuned into. Hopefully the boys can take it to the Volunteers. That would be awesome.
But also, as you said, they struggled during the midweek. They struggled during the midweek playing at 1 and 2 o'clock. We'll see how they play in the evening time once they have dinner. So that might play a factor. But Colby, you looking at Campbell NC State as well, sir?
Yeah, I think it should be good. Campbell's red hot, and State coming off of losing the series at Florida State. Good way to bounce back. I mean, it's a tough midweek opponent. I like playing tough midweek opponents instead of playing some of the terrible teams they've played this year, but it'll be a good test. I like ECU at Duke. I think that'll be interesting. I think that's a game that I'll pick ECU to win, but tough road game for the Pirates, but I think they'll get it done.
Last year I was there, and Cliff Godwin and Chris Pollard got ejected and had to walk. They walked right in front of me and Matt through the concession stand out through the front gate to leave the stadium, because that's how it is at Jack Coombs Field. Quite interesting, but it's always pretty fun. That'll be a good matchup for sure, as Pollard and Godwin don't like each other. But he's no longer in the dugout, so we'll see what happens. The rest of the slate: Davidson at Winthrop, 6 p.m. ESPN Plus. Georgia Southern at Charleston Southern, 6 p.m. ESPN Plus. A battle of the Southerns there. That one's going to be a little bit of a tongue twister there. High Point at App State, 6 p.m. ESPN Plus. I think that is a pretty underrated one there. Underrated matchup there. Potential great uniform matchup there too. Just kind of cool, and also cool setting, playing at 6 p.m. in that stadium with the sunset in the mountains. Absolutely sick if the weather's clear. North Carolina A&T at Gardner-Webb, 6 p.m. ESPN Plus, and the big one, in my opinion, South Carolina versus North Carolina in Charlotte. They're playing at the Knights, correct? Just want to confirm.
Yeah,
Truist Knights Stadium. Yes, Truist Field. 6:30 p.m. ACC Network Extra, and then Coastal Carolina at Clemson. I mean, these are just some phenomenal games. Campbell, NC State, Upstate Tennessee, Duke, Duke, ECU, Coastal Clemson. I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, how many TVs are we going to need to watch all this? And Colby, which one of these second half has your eye the most?
Probably Coastal at Clemson. Coastal, like we mentioned, they're pretty hot right now, and then Clemson just coming off of getting swept, starting 1-5 in ACC. This is a dub. I think they need badly going into the rest of ACC play. I'm gonna definitely have my eye on that one.
Braxton?
Yeah, definitely the bottom two. I mean, those are obvious big hitters. But I do like the High Point app call out. I think this was a game that got moved, or maybe
from last week.
It's either that or they were supposed to play at High Point too, but I can't remember. But yeah, App State's crowds have surprised me this year. I think that's awesome that they're getting students to go out to those games, especially in the midweek. At 6 o'clock. I think that will kind of push them over the edge in this one.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
I'm taking App State in this game.
Oh yeah. Those
By the way,
students-
get your picks in tomorrow for the midweeks.
Yes, be sure to click your picks in. But yeah, I think that's so cool. I mean, I don't know. Have you guys been to App State's campus? Been to a?
I've been to their field. I played on their field. It's definitely a cool field. I like how it's all turf and like all those aerial shots obviously make it kind of
Oh,
famous
yeah.
looking, but
Oh
like
yeah.
it is a nice ballpark for sure. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Boone's great in general if you get some good weather.
Yeah, it is sick. I've been to a football game there. Unbelievable atmosphere. Have
Oh,
not
yeah.
been to a baseball game, but if you're an App State student and you're listening, be sure to go to Daniel Boone's for dinner, then head over to the ballpark and watch some good baseball. And to wrap up Wednesday, Slate Presbyterian at the Citadel, and then Georgia Southern is staying in Charleston and playing College of Charleston at 6 p.m. on Flow Sports. And guys, what do you know? Only one Flow Sports game.
I was just gonna mention we get to
Only
finally watch.
one Flow Sports game. Campbell on ESPN. I mean, guys, go buy your Mega Ball Powerball tickets. Go do them right now. Unbelievable. But guys, is there anything else we want to touch on the midweek? This is an absolutely loaded one. Be sure to get your picks on our Instagram stories.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention with the picks. We did add up.
Oh yes, thank you, Braxton, for doing the IG followers vote.
Yeah, so we keep track of all of our midweek picks. It's been kind of a tight race. I do have the lead right now with I think it's Reed one game behind me, but with the Instagram picks, the followers are 35 and 13. So we just take the higher percentage as the pick for the followers. They started out, I think it was 22 and 4 in the first 4 or 5 weeks, and then they had a rough week last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, really cool to keep track of those. So keep getting your picks in. It's kind of cool because we can see individually who everyone picks too. But we're just going with the whole, as a whole, the IG followers.
Yeah, I think it is quite neat here. I'm not going to say names, but it is cool to see current players pick each of the pick'ems. It is pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
Colby, as we wrap up, one of our longer shows, but a good one. Want to once again thank you, Colby, for the stats. You do a phenomenal job with that for being our stat guy. Colby?
Yeah, great show. Great midweek tomorrow, and if any MLB fans out, or opening day is this week too. So it's a good time for baseball. Go Dodgers! The three-peat. Let's go.
Also, be on the lookout tomorrow for some stat leader posts. We will be posting those in the morning. So just leaders in categories so far in the Carolinas.
That is correct, sir. Thank you guys for a wonderful show. What'd you say?
That's all I got.
Yep. And that's about all I got too. We're running at 1:13. Longer show, but want to say once again, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you are, be sure to follow us on X and Instagram at Carolina CurveBB. Follow us on TikTok. Braxton does a phenomenal job there. Be sure to go check him out on there. Follow us on Spotify. Subscribe on YouTube. Like, follow, comment, engage. We love all of it. And also, Braxton, we've been doing some hangouts on our Discord this weekend. Yeah. So if you are interested in Discord, the link is on our bio. We do go in and hang out in our watch party and talk to each other. So
yeah,
I kind of want to
would love to have some people come in and just chop it up if you can. For sure.
I definitely want to let's tweet that out this weekend if we're available. I would say probably on a Sunday, maybe. Sunday's maybe the best.
Yeah.
For people who are just kind of chilling, relaxing, alone watching games with some buddies. So just want to get more engagement. So be sure to do that. And lastly, be sure to check our Instagram tomorrow and get your midweek madness picks. And you will be entertained by our stat leaders post tomorrow. It's going to be a great post. Looking forward to it. And once again, fellas, thank you so much for a great show. We will see you on Thursday.